my fellow Americans, my intelligent friends, libertarians of all stripes. My campaign manager is 4 years old and likes to go to the playground with her little brother. She likes swings, he prefers slides. I asked my campaign manager if I could go to the mainland for a few months to campaign. She said no. There's nothing I can do about that. She's the boss. I was going to finance my campaign by quitting my job and cashing out my 401k. But my treasurer threatened to divorce me, take the kids, and go live with her mother. So the question is, how am I supposed to run a presidential campaign when I have a full-time job, 2 young children at home, a small budget, and no staff? It's all a question of keeping my priorities in line. Hi, my name is Stephen A. Richey. I live in Honolulu, Hawaii with my wife and 2 kids. And for the last 23 years I've been working for FedEx. I drive a delivery truck on the North Shore of Oahu. I literally get paid to sit in traffic beside some of the most beautiful beaches in the world. My life is settled here. I can stay at FedEx while my kids go to college, then retire anywhere I want. But lately, I've been wondering if my children will be able to have the same success in life that I've enjoyed. Taking the long view, I see some big problems for America in the future, and some of those problems have already started manifesting themselves. Everyone who joins the Libertarian Party has their pet issues. Some want to abolish the income tax, others want recreational drugs to be legalized, some want nonviolent criminals to be freed from jail, the Federal Reserve has got to go, our borders should be open and immigration decriminalized, and still others would like to abolish our federal government altogether. And while I support all of these, including abolishing the federal government altogether, there's just one little problem we as libertarians need to consider. None of these concepts will ever be realized if we can't put a libertarian in the White House. It's all possible, but we have to keep our priorities in line. The 2016 election was more significant in terms of voter turnout than in the results. More than 40% of eligible Americans didn't bother to vote, and who could blame them? They were offended by a terrible choice between 2 extreme positions, and many ended up voting defensively, not because they were actually interested in the candidates. Americans do not want an extreme president, yet in both major parties, all we can hear is the screaming extremists. They're a minority, even in their own party, but the extremists are the ones making the most noise. Centrist voters are exactly the people who may feel alienated, and exactly the voters we libertarians should be targeting. However, decades of warfare and welfare and government subsidies and deficit-financed bailouts and artificially reduced interest rates have left many Americans dependent on the federal government in much the same way a drug addict depends on his dealer. They know it's not healthy. They know it's not sustainable, but often it seems easier to accept government handouts than to accept responsibility for planning their own future. For those Americans, many libertarian issues seem disruptive to their lifestyle, and they've never known how to take care of themselves. Eliminating income taxes doesn't benefit those who aren't working, and eliminating the Federal Reserve might raise interest rates, making their car payments higher. We can't wield liberty as a weapon and impose it upon people who have never experienced freedom. If we do that, we become the extremists, and none of our goals will be achieved. Our only priority must be to win the election. As the duopoly parties polarize themselves, we must be the center. I put it to you that any libertarian candidate who wishes to promote the more extreme parts of the libertarian platform is dooming us to failure once again. We must, for now, focus only on those issues which the American people can easily comprehend and which the major parties are completely unwilling to address. We can do this, but we have to keep our priorities in line. There are 3 issues which the major parties cannot address that are likely to destroy the American way of life within the next 20 years. These are the issues we should promote. These are things everyone knows but is afraid to talk about. Number 1, national debt. As president, I will never sign a budget that is not balanced and will begin paying off the national debt immediately. Yes, I have a plan for this. No, I won't be posting it online at this time. Number 2, perpetual global warfare. As president, I will withdraw all military personnel to positions on American soil. You can't have peace until you stop killing people. Number 3, climate change. It's already happening. I see it every day here in Hawaii. We must strengthen, and in some cases relocate and rebuild, infrastructure which is vulnerable to changes in our climate. In addition, the United States should plan to be carbon neutral within 20 years. It's all connected, of course. The largest source of debt is military spending, which will be slashed as our troops return from overseas. While maintaining defense capabilities, many of our troops can now assist with infrastructure and climate change mitigation projects. And don't forget that the largest polluter in America is our federal government, including the U.S. military. So downsizing our government assists with getting us closer to carbon neutrality as well. We don't sound like extremists if we keep our priorities in line. The only thing left is to choose the Libertarian nominee. We need someone who can deliver a centrist message while withstanding the attacks that the major parties will certainly launch. We need a person who can find commonality with the 99% of Americans who are not truly represented in Washington, D.C. We need someone whose priorities are exactly in line. Fortunately, the major parties have provided us plenty of examples of what not to look for in a presidential nominee. The following should never be allowed in the White House. Number 1, billionaires. A person who values money over anything else can easily be bribed and should never be trusted with anything. I'm a Buddhist. We have a saying, desire less, no contentment. I have what I need in life, and that gives me integrity. Number 2, celebrities. A person who depends on popularity for their livelihood is probably unable to comprehend the lives that the rest of us live. I drive a truck. I make choices based on safety and efficiency. Does it really matter what people think about that? Number 3, career politicians. Anything a politician says between elections should be automatically considered a lie. Think about that. Additionally, anyone who is holding an elected position should not be allowed to neglect their duties to fly around the country campaigning for president. And the greatest test of all, the one question which every presidential candidate should be asked is this: why do you want to be president? Because there's a big mess in Washington, D.C. right now, and anyone planning to clean it up will have a Herculean task ahead of them. I've often said that anyone who wants to be president shouldn't be trusted with the position. I have my priorities in line. My family comes first, always. My job is next, because that's how I support my family. Running for president is something I do at night when the kids are asleep. It's not my top priority. Some presidential candidates say they have nothing to lose. I feel I have nothing to gain. My life is great right now. Why would I want to complicate it unnecessarily? I am the only presidential candidate who will openly admit I do not want to be president. And that makes me the only presidential candidate with the integrity to take the Libertarian Party to the White House. My life is in order because my priorities are in line. My name is Stephen A. Richey. Thank you very much.